Is there a motion to open court?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And motion carries unanimously. Our invitation today was given by Gaston Commissioner Cantrell. Oh, available, please open court, and then we'll have.
All rise. The Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the month of August 2013 term with the Honorable Judge Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for invocation.
Judge and Commissioners, it's my pleasure today to introduce our guest invitors, Reverend Deborah Morgan Stokes. She would come up. She's a native Dallasite and graduated from Brian Adams High School and attended TCU, where she received her Bachelor's of Science in Education. Reverend Morgan Stokes taught for 3 years at LG Pinkston High School in West Dallas, and during her tenure teaching, her call to the ministry intensified. So she made her way to Vanderbilt Divinity School in Nashville, where she completed her Master's of Divinity degree. In 1990, she was ordained at her home congregation, Northway Christian Church. Her first calling to serve was at the First Christian Church of Waynesboro, Tennessee, followed by 14 years at Saguaro Christian Church in Tucson, Arizona. And since 2006, she has served at East Dallas Christian Church, where she is the senior minister. This fall, the church will be celebrating its 110th anniversary. And Amy in my office, her parents attend there, and also Joe Wells is also a member there. Pastor, we appreciate you coming down today.
Thank you, and I invite all of us to be in an attitude of prayer. This is a good day, God. This is your day, God. This is a day to do good work for your people. So I ask in this time and in this place that you bless those assembled in the work that you have called them to do. For their work is your work. May they remember that behind each issue, behind each resolution, is a face, is a life, is a story, is a heart that beats, and is a special created child of yours. So Lord, we pray this day for open ears and open hearts and understanding in the hard work that is to be done. Because Lord, you know that we need your guidance. We need the healing for this community and for those that we know and love that are a part of this community. Today we lift up especially Justice Carolyn Wright, who is in need of your healing touch and your encouragement, her family wrapped in your comfort. And all these things, Lord, you know what each one of us brings to this time and place. We know that it's already blessed by your presence. In the name of the one who created us all, our loving God, we pray this day. Amen.
Thank you.
Judge, Reverend Stokes, in the court, I would ask that you also Judge Ella Mullins in the transition of her mother, those services this coming Saturday. So thank you. I thought when Commissioner Cantrell introduced you, he said that the fact that you had taught at Pinkston drove you into the ministry.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
We have several resolutions this morning. The first is from Commissioner Gannon.
Good morning. Thank you very much. We'd like to begin this resolution by saying, whereas the passage of the 19th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States on April 26, 1920, changed the course of America by opening the voting booth to women. And whereas women of diverse and varied backgrounds worked together for women's suffrage from 1848 to 1920, a 72-year struggle for the right to vote. And whereas Texas was the 9th state in the Union and the first southern state to ratify the 19th Amendment. And whereas the women of today have accepted their responsibilities and privileges as citizens and have become leaders in the city, the county, state, and nation, thereby creating opportunities for all those women who follow. And whereas today, American women are leaders in business, government, law, science, medicine, the arts, education, and many other fields. And whereas the women of Dallas consistently exercise their precious right to vote and provide their labor, talent, vision, spirit, and dedication to achieve equality for all women and men. And whereas on this special occasion, we must bear in mind that while women have overcome difficult obstacles, acceptance of equality is something we must all practice and teach future generations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim August 26, 2013 as Women's Equality Day in Dallas County. And I offer this resolution.
And I said,
All those in favor?
aye.
And while I support it, and it all sounds good, and I listened to the minister this morning, sounds good in words and verbiage, but the fact of the matter is, Texas is still the state where the Lilly Ledbetter Act does not appear to be in force and effect. Women are still paid less than men. I don't even have to go down to Prairie View. We can stay right here in Dallas County in that park where we hire, where women have the job, and we turn around and hire men in at $60,000 more, and the duties didn't change. So while it sounds good, nothing has really changed.
The good news is it's still federal law.
And no, I totally agree with what Commissioner Press was saying. You know, we still have a lot to go. After all, we can do it all forward and backwards, just like a man, except we do it in high heels. So there's always.
Forward and backwards, I didn't say. And we're not done yet,
No,
so
we're not done yet.
we will
so-
continue in that struggle and vote. Yes.
And with that being said, also Commissioner, tomorrow at City Hall is the Quality Day at noon. As always, I invite every woman that has the time and the opportunity to attend. It's always a very fulfilling celebration that has been taking place at City Hall for as long as I can remember. I know I've been going for the last 9 years. So thank you, Commissioner Hernandez, for this resolution. It's always good to remember that while but we have achieved a lot continues to need to be done, like Commissioner Frazier said.
And thank you for your optimism.
Commissioner, we have to go against the person.
Well, thank you for the women leaders who are here today to assist us with court, the speakers, and I want to recognize one of my most important role models, my mama, Joanne Jenkins, who's here, who fought the fight for equality years ago. I remember as a kid, my mom trained men to work at the phone company who, after she was done training them, left and made more money than she did. Or I guess while she was training them, we're making more money than she was. So the struggle continues, but we're making strides. Thank you for your resolution. Our next resolution is from Commissioner Clinton.
Judge and Commissioners, the next resolution is for Fred Ferguson, who's retiring as the president of the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce, and will be presented at a later date, so I'll move to approve.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries unanimously. And our next two resolutions are from Commissioner Price.
Judge, I would ask Brian Copeland to come forward with his delegation. There's a delegation out of the district attorney's office for Brian. This resolution says, whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes special notice when a career employee enters retirement, leaving behind a respected legacy and career of faithfully serving the public. And whereas Brian B. Copeland was born in El Paso and was raised in Anthony, New Mexico, where he excelled in athletics at Anthony High School. He attended the University of Texas at El Paso, and he became a police officer for the city of Dallas. After 3 years, he came to the Dallas County District Attorney's Office in 1985, where he served as a felony investigator. And while working full-time, he earned his bachelor's degree in 1990 from Dallas Baptist University. And whereas in 1987, he was assigned as the original investigator for the district attorney's asset forfeiture section, where he helped establish a pattern of success in asset forfeiture that continues to this day. His efficacy and hard work made a vital contribution to the successful litigation of over 8,000 civil lawsuits involving the seizure of over $50 million in criminal proceeds, over 3,100 motor vehicles used in the commission of felonies, thousands of firearms, and other contraband assets utilized by the narcotic traffickers to carry out criminal activities. And whereas during his service as an investigator, he was assigned for 4 years to the United States Drug Enforcement Administration Organized Crime Task Force, where he excelled as a narcotics investigator. He was a lead agent involved in the successful investigation and prosecution of the largest comprehensive crack cocaine conspiracy in North Texas history, and also participated in an investigation which resulted in the seizure of over 3,100 pounds of cocaine and the arrest of numerous foreign cartel members. And whereas he's made significant contributions to the effective law enforcement in Dallas County, not only through his work as a peace officer, but also through his tireless effort to educate and encourage local law enforcement agencies as a speaker at numerous law enforcement seminars, and by offering day-to-day practical advice on effective techniques leading to successful forfeiture of criminal assets. And whereas he has been a valued member of our community since 1982, he's been married to his wife Karen for 30 years, and they have 2 children, a son Cody now in his 3rd year of law school, and a daughter Allison, who is a junior in college. After business hours for the past 14 years, he has coached football at Dallas Christian High School as passing game coordinator, and his teams have appeared in 4 state championships. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court is hereby recognized and extends sincere appreciation to Brian B. Copeland for 28 years of faithful service, and further expresses best wishes on this his retirement. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Brian. Before Mr. Watson comes forward, I just want to say, I talked about in the resolution that Brian has worked as assistant varsity football coach at Dallas Christian School there in Mesquite. But it's that extra effort, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday in civil service about these kind of employees, but with the permission of his supervisor, he adjusted his schedule to arrive at the office by 6 o'clock a.m. to work a full day before driving to Mesquite every day to football practice. And this is his schedule from August through December, every year, the last several years. He's received coat, He is a receivers coach. He's helped the team with the TAP State Championship 2008, and many of his players have earned all district, all state honors, as well as college scholarships, including last year's CAPS Athlete Scholar of the Year, Justin Nelson, who is a freshman at Texas Tech University. And Brian is that kind of employee that is hard. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Commissioner. Brian, thank you for your 28 years. A lot of folks don't understand that the asset forfeiture portion of our office is very important, not only in providing public safety for the citizens of Dallas County, but it also provides funds for the DA's office that we don't necessarily get from the state or the Commissioner's Court. So thank you for being part of that and basically moving us forward. So congratulations.
Brian, you got plenty, Coach, you got plenty to say.
Well, I kind of made a career of staying under the radar. So thank you very much. But caught me going out the door. But it's been my pleasure to serve the law enforcement community for over 31 years, and particularly working with drug enforcement officers that are dedicated in the Dallas County, North Texas area.
Who's the model that you bought with, that you bought her?
What?
The model, the lady
Introduce you.
trying to
My wife, Karen. She's a hard worker as a family. She's been public support, and she's the one that makes me try to get out from under the radar.
Thank you for the service to the citizens of Dallas County.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners. And next, I'd ask Mr. Leonard Willis and his family to come forward. Whereas Dallas County Commissioners Court takes special notice where an individual has given long and faithful service to Dallas County, and whereas Leonard E. Willis was born in Fort Worth, Texas. He attended Booker T. Washington High School in Dallas, Texas. And whereas Leonard is married to Yawanda Willis, and they have 3 children, Jasmine, Joshua, and John. And whereas Leonard has been preaching for the past 33 years and is the proud pastor of Saints Eternity Church of God in Christ. And whereas Leonard began his Dallas County career on May 2nd, 1995 in Road and Bridge District Number 3 as a crew chief equipment operator. And whereas Leonard has continuously served in Road and Bridge Number 3 in positions with increasing leadership responsibilities to include equipment operator 4, crew chief, and road supervisor where he currently served. And whereas Leonard has served Dallas County continuously and diligently for 18 years. Now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Leonard E. Willis for 18 years of faithful service and further expresses best wishes on this his retirement. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Can't say enough about Reverend Willis. He keeps everybody out there and kind of on the straight and narrow. And sometime working in Road and Bridge District 3, you need a lot of prayer. You need prayer for. That's right. A lot of, but he's always been there. And I just want to thank him. I've had the occasion to be in a number of church services, and not only him, I can't make a number of funeral presentations. Reverend Willis always takes the mantle and he represents it. The guys all call him preacher, as they should. And a lot of respect and admiration coming from his colleagues. So, Reverend, to you and your family, just want to say thank you for the years of faithful service in Dallas County. If you want to come up to the mic and pull it down and have something to say, we'll listen.
I appreciate a long sermon, but a long time. I'm gonna be short now. I want to give God, our Father, the honor, the Savior Jesus Christ, for the strength to allow me to work under a great man, Commissioner John Wiley Price. I appreciate him. And he's always been my inspiration. Amen. Y'all forgive my preaching word, amen, and all that. That's not natural, because I'm preaching all the time. But I want to thank God for Mr. Price working. I want to thank God for all the supervisors on the job and all the men that the robbery had together out there. I'm going to miss it very, very much. But I do want to thank my wife, young woman who is my first lady in my church, and my children for inspiring me to go home at a time that this was kind of tough for us when we first started, but God has blessed us, and I appreciate all that God has done, amen, for us and the county. I thank God for the hard work that God has given Commissioner Price to help develop us in this community. And I appreciate all the commissioners, amen, and all the courts. Did you say amen? I'm sorry. I'm so used to preaching. I've been preaching so long. It comes natural. But I just want to thank each and every one, and I appreciate you all. And like I said, I thank God for my children. Amen. They have pushed me, and I thank God and my wife. I want to say this before I stop. My wife is backing me up on this retirement. She had went to school and she has got her degree. She told me she wanted me to sit down for her to take the role, so I'm going to sit down.
My dad said I'd rather see a son than hear one any day. Thank you.
Our last resolution of the day is from Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Judge. Colleagues, I do want to say before I read the resolution that there was an amendment done by Dr. Daniels in the last paragraph. So I will be reading it into the record. The change is the SANA group. It will say the two above recommendations. Okay, and the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Dallas County Hospital District Board of Managers is appointed by the Dallas County Commissioners Court, and whereas the Sarna Group LLC, TSG, was retained by the Board of Managers as the Board Corporate Governance Advisor and has submitted its report and recommendations to the Board regarding the Board's composition, Board member duties, and other Board governance issues. And whereas the Board is currently composed of 7 members, 1 each appointed by the county judge and each commissioner, and 2 appointed jointly by the full commissioners court. And whereas the size and scope of responsibilities of the board in managing an organization the size of Parkland Hospital and Healthcare System requires each board member to serve on multiple committees, carry a wide variety of responsibilities. And whereas the Senator Group LLC TSG report recommends that future appointees to the Board of Managers review the TSG fiduciary duties report and execute a written acknowledgement of their fiduciary duties before affirming the oath of office. And whereas the TSG report also recommends that the board form a new standing committee, governance, compliance, and ethics, CGCE committee, with a detailed character that enunciates its duties, which should include board development, orientation and education, as well as oversight of the compliance program and the performance of the CCO and the department. And whereas the TSG report further recommends that a protocol be developed for communication between the Dallas County Hospital Board of Managers and Dallas County Commissioners Court to address the issues and problems that have arisen as a result of the current informal and ad hoc communication process. Now therefore, let it be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recommend that the Dallas County Hospital District Board of Managers starts implementing the two above recommendations and move toward best practices for governance of a complex organization that manages 1.2 million outpatient visits and some 40,000 inpatient discharges per year and employs well over 9,000 individuals and has an operating revenue of over $1 billion. And I so move. Second.
No, plenty of discussion. I'm not going to support it. And the fact is, this report has 20 recommendations. And I just find it interesting we can take 2. And we haven't discussed it with this court. I recognize that over a year ago that Parkland spent $2 million of money. But if you read the report talks about something more than just what I consider to be a facade of saying, well, we're going to move from 7 to 11 because it has increased in volume. Well, it's been that way since 1954. And let me just tell you, this court has changed in terms of its demographic since 1954. I don't see anybody Constitution said we need to put a Constitution provision on to talk about, let's move the court now to maybe 11. What were they in Chicago? In Cook County, is it 18, 20? Okay, 52. Okay, no, I thought you said 52. No, but anyway, my point is I don't see no expansiveness on this side of the aisle. And I just find it all peculiar that we can pick and choose 2 of the 20 recommendations and say it's okay. The main thing that this report talks about is the distrust, which has nothing to do with the size of the board. It has everything to do with the governance and the people who are driving the coach. It talks about the people in the C-suite. You know, that group which the CEO appoints, which they don't have one, let me remind you, but that group which the CEO appoints, that reports to the Board of Managers. It talks about the distrust between the Board of Managers and the C-suite. It clearly talks about the fact that just like this report, there was the Baptist Leadership Group report that they spent almost $1 million on. The board knew nothing about it. They decided to take it, get the report, decided the report didn't say what they wanted it to say. They just extinguished it. I mean, maybe it was just taxpayers' money, $1 million here, $1 million there. After a while, we're talking about a few million dollars. But it has so many concerns in this report. But we have not had a meaningful public discussion, even with the board members here, about the findings in this report. And I just find it interesting. We can go in and pick and choose what I consider to be a couple of what I guess we think are safe deals to move forward with a committee, and let's talk about expanding the board. I'm going to continue to remind this court, as I remind Parkland, the mission of Parkland is to furnish medical aid and hospital care to indigent and needy persons residing in the hospital district, whether they are indigent, underserved, undocumented, or legal citizens. But all of a sudden, we want to move forward with this engagement, and we haven't discussed it. Now you say, well, we can discuss it together. That's fine. Just take an evening, afternoon, a day with the board of managers and discuss 20 recommendations, not pick and choose 2. There are a lot of details in this report, and at the end of the day, one of the problems that we're going to continuously have out there is you're recycling some of the same old management, you're moving them around, as opposed to letting them out the door. That's about leadership. That's about a CEO. And while everybody was all in a celebratory mode, and I join you with the passing of the CMS, I mean, the issue at the end of the day was leadership or the lack thereof. Even the acknowledgement that there was a problem at Parkland. If you'll remember when we first got that report, I mean, everything from a medical director to the CEO, everybody was saying, we're okay, ain't no problem. It's leadership. It's about making decisions. So you can put all, committees in place, but there are 20 recommendations in here. And we're gonna pick and choose, well, I guess we think are the two safest. And we still haven't discussed the other 18. Are we gonna discuss those? Are we gonna discuss this report? I mean, you've got a $2 million report, we spent taxpayers' money, at least they're entitled to hear, 99% of the people who will see your 2 will never know what the other 18 are unless they decide to read, the cultural transformation, realignment, restoration of trust report that they paid $2 million for. And I just find this all, I mean, real peculiar. I think I said to Parkland 6 or 8 weeks ago, when are we going to discuss this? Remember, they wanted to move forward then. I said the court hasn't even discussed it. We haven't. We still haven't. We still haven't. So, I mean, I just find it all very peculiar. At this time, we'll pick 2 that we think is safe. And say, okay, well, let's just expand the board. And the report does say, I mean, I know I'm going to gain some comfort level that this court will appoint the expansiveness of the board.
Well, Commissioner, and as the maker of the resolution, I do have to say, and you and I discussed this, I read the report as well. I know the 20 recommendations. After spending $2 million, we have 2 choices. Either we move forward or we stay where we are. And we can discuss it today, but at the end of the day,
We haven't discussed it at all.
But Commissioner, at the end of the day, the board is going to have to read and to discuss and to implement if they decide some of these resolutions. I mean, let's face it, Parkland is growing. We're going to grow more than ever in the history since it was founded. Well, yes, and that makes my point. We need to know and see whether these recommendations are valid or not. I took 2 because I believe personally that are important. This communication is extremely important. Trust is extremely important. The fact that we need to create the Corporate Governance Compliance and Ethics Committee is extremely important. I don't know. Well, and that's what I mentioned those 2. You mentioned, why did you mention the other 20? I could mention the 20, but I want the dialogue, is to start somewhere in the board. And these are the 2 that I believe will make that happen. I don't know if they're going to determine that are 7 or 11. I don't know that. At the end of the day, the Quasi Judicial Board, that will make that decision. But we need to start somewhere.
That's not what the report says. They don't get a chance to make that decision. We do.
I agree.
And we haven't discussed it.
As long as they start, they will come to this court at the end of the day. We can always ask them. I think the board has been very open to come and discuss with us everything they're doing, sometimes not everything even, and that's why I put the communication part of that because I thought it was important.
But the communication is about trust, Dr. Garcia. It's not about the fact.
And if we don't do anything with this study, Commissioner Price, if we just fight it like so many studies are filed in government, we're not doing our job either. We can discuss it all we want, but if they don't come forward and they don't study it and they don't discuss it and they don't implement something, what was the study good for?
That
I
sounds
have
good.
to tell you, when I was in the city of Dallas, I remember 2 studies that were implemented, and that's because those studies were pushed to be implemented. Otherwise, they can just stay
Did you
there.
discuss them?
Yes, we did.
Not discuss
But
this.
I mean, the structure is different.
What's
In this case,
discussion is discussion.
discussion is discussion, but it has to start at the end of the day with us and the board. We started it. This is starting it, in my opinion. I'm very proud of what the board has done. We still have a lot to do, but this is something that has to be moved forward. And you're totally right. It's about leadership. and discussing it to move forward is important. I think this is part of the discussion, Commissioner. I do believe that we have a board that will come and give us a report of their recommendations. They will decide if 7, 11, if some of the other 20 recommendations are important. You know, like I say, I mentioned the 2 that I believe will start that dialogue, that open that trust, that move that leadership forward, and that we can be part of the success, rather than, you know, just discussing.
Look, you got
Forever.
the same people out there recycling, making the decision, moving, they don't work here, so you move them over there. You got the same basically C-suite individuals. Nothing has changed out there. Now, like I said, while everybody's in a celebratory mood about what's gone on in the past, nothing has changed. We brought some few people in from the outside. We spent $75 million worth of taxpayers' money. Okay, so we passed and said that. Can we sustain it? And you sustain it, the report talks about sustaining it. What did the guy say, 499? We got 499 issues
And it's,
and culture.
right, and can it be sustained with the same form that we have been doing it since 1934?
No,
or is it
54,
54,
and it's-
I'm sorry,
and
or it does it needs to be changed?
It-
And that's the whole point of it.
It's at the end of the day, they talk about, they don't even talk about the board. They talk about it in relationship to the CEO, who in fact drives the C-suite. That's been my complaint for the last 15 years sitting on this court. And nothing has changed.
And again,
Nothing has
we have
changed.
the opportunity to change
Oh,
something. in
no,
the
yeah, but you can't change when you get your CEO.
And the change starts here, in my opinion, Commissioner. And you know, we agree to disagree on this one. As you can see, we can discuss it all day long.
We don't agree
And,
with this. We haven't discussed anything. That's my point.
You know, I'm beginning the discussion right here, and also having read that report, I will agree to support this particular resolution, because I think it's an important, very small first step in continuing that discussion. That tome does contain a number of recommendations that do require a very strong review and a much discussion. I've got lots of little bits and pieces of paper in my book too, where I also have questions.
But we haven't discussed it. That's my point. You got questions. So when are we gonna discuss it?
Well, then let us start. And I think
Next
that's,
Tuesday, 1
that's.
o'clock.
That's work. I said that 6 weeks ago. But now we got a resolution on, and we take 2 of the 20. Let's start next week at 1 o'clock. You know, yeah, come Saturday, not this Saturday, but you know, Saturday. I don't care. My point is, let's sit down and discuss it. That's all I'm saying. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, you need to put it on, do you want the parking board to be there?
Yes.
Community
That's
forum. Yeah, I need to
that's
check the
exactly.
schedule. I don't know if it's a meeting schedule, but I will. If you'd
Well,
like.
I have it every Tuesday at 1 o'clock until we.
Can we get through it?
In the meantime,
Works for me.
but in the meantime, colleagues, I mean, the reality is there's work to be done. You know, the committee has to be formed. We have an opportunity to help the board to make some of these insights. I mean, we're going to bring them next Tuesday, and we're going to start discussing them. But if they don't start within themselves, moving this forward, I mean, we just can pick the 20 recommendations all we want. And that is the purpose of this resolution, colleagues. Like, my purpose was, let's give them the opportunity to start. Let's do it together. I have absolutely no problem with discussing it every week with them. However, I mean, they have to start somewhere. And this, I believe, puts, you know, that trust in the forefront. And, you know, that was the purpose of this resolution. I doesn't say, and I never intend to say what the results will do or what the implementation will be. I'm just saying it's a way of moving forward, and that's it.
All right. Any further comments? Hearing none, we call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed. I'll be a big no.
All right, that takes us to our consent agenda.
So, before you get to this, but next week, we will begin to discuss this. And we will discuss it until we discuss all 20 recommendations, however long it takes.
I mean, maybe I'd set that at 1:30. This court's been very long-winded here lately.
Yeah.
Well, no, consider item A of the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
now consider item 9, the bids. Is there a motion on bids? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will, didn't put it,
You said aye.
I got so many notes on here.
It was put back.
But that's good.
It was put back and it was the correct one this time.
We'll now consider court orders 10 through 28, pulling 11 for a separate vote after closed session. Is there a motion on 10 through 28, pulling 11?
I want to pull 16.
So I have a motion.
So I'll move court orders 10 through 28, excluding court orders 11 and 16.
A second.
Is there discussion on 16?
No, I pulled it out.
Oh, okay, pull. Any discussion on the remaining orders?
10 through 28, excluding 11 and 16.
Correct.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Via Shannon.
We have speakers, I believe, on 11, but
Let me, some of them, I couldn't believe, I'm not supporting it, but I definitely want to put
You
some.
want to discuss it?
Yeah.
Then I'll move court order 16.
all right.
Just for clarity, that item was on closed. If you'd like, we can move that back to closed.
16 is on
16 for
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah.
The personnel, Judge, if you just announced that when you go to close, that we'll discuss that under personnel item.
Let's move both.
And the only reason, sorry, the only reason I didn't do it, because like I said, I'm going to vote no, but I got a real issue with this. I think all the colleges need to know all the real facts associated with it. Okay? We got some of them, and I know what some people are recommending, but there are plenty of facts.
So 11 and 16 are both for executive session.
Okay?
We'll hear both those in executive session. Let's move through our briefing agenda. We'll hear from registered speakers and we'll go forward.
Well, Judge Commissioner, your first item is your West Nile virus update with Director Thompson.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners, for the time sake, let's go to Brian to the next slide. I wanted to give a quick update on our organization. Everyone knows school starts back on Monday, August 26th. Dallas County Health and Human Services has done our due diligence in putting on various Saturday clinics. We just had one this past Saturday that went very well. That won't reduce the number that we will have accessing our clinics because of the number of residents in Dallas County who don't have a medical home. So I want to be very clear, our telephone lines, our building, as I get there at 7 a.m. in the morning, people are still lining up for immunizations. But again, the wonderful thing about it is the fact that our school district is doing a great job in getting the word out that if your children's immunization records are not up to date, they will not be allowed to come to school on the first day. And so we're going to have long lines this week. We're normally doing 300 plus per day. I will caution that we do cut off our line around 2 p.m. That is a lot on our nurses to give that many shots on a given day. So if you get calls, that's fine, but I'm nervous, so they can touch base with me. That's what we've been doing for the last 17 years.
Well, no, Mr. Thompson, and I totally agree with that work ethic in regards, because these are the same nurses that are in these Saturday clinics, whether it's at Antioch, whether it's at DeSoto, wherever we've been for the last several weeks. These are the same nurses that work on Saturday, and I brought them one of the meetings yesterday in sanitation. When you've got individuals who are long, we can talk about that in resolutions, long and dedicated servants. We don't want to burn them up. We don't want to burn them out. Whether they're public defenders, whether in the facilities department, wherever they are, nurses. I just appreciate the fact that we're looking out for our employees who work long, extended hours over and beyond 8 to 5. So.
Right. And the key is that a number of these shots, we're talking 4 or 5 shots, it's not like one shot per kid.
Exactly.
Go to the next one. I want to clarify, because I think sometimes I don't terms of past measles cases that you've seen here, there have been 2 measles cases in Dallas County. The measles outbreak in Tarrant County, unrelated to the 2 measles cases that we had here in Dallas County. They were early on. Our staff did a great job in identifying those 2 measles cases, basically through their contact investigation, narrowed it down, and it was closed immediately. And so the cases that are going on in Tarrant County, and I want to commend Tarrant County Health Department for their response. You know, everybody sees different things from West Nile to measles. At the end of the day, public health, that's what is the process. And I will say that I get enough threats and emails, but I will say one of the issues that we're having is that this contingency who advocates not getting immunized puts us at a challenge and a disadvantage in terms of the public understanding the importance of getting our children immunized. So I got the point that people in America can make a choice, but the choices that they're making now in terms of promoting that immunization are not needed puts us in a precarious situation that oftentimes these measles outbreaks is a vaccine preventer. And so to have an outbreak, we had an outbreak in Dallas County since 1980. Our last measles case was in 1997. So we know that vaccines work and that we have to encourage our residents to get immunized and to be focused on immunization. And so that's fine. We're in a free country and people can say whatever they want to say. So I just said my point on that. Doc, if you want to make any points about the measles, the effectiveness of the vaccine.
Yes. Director Thompson.
Before you go there, but we did give some measles shots out.
Well, yeah, we do that every year. Women are, that's our focus. But when I get this contingency in my area and talk about not getting vaccinated,
But that's what our Chairman of Public Health, that's what I want to make very clear. We've been doing that anyway. And if your kids are in that portal, we are already immunizing for measles.
That's correct.
Yes. We want to be clear on the fact that there are childhood immunizations and there are also adult immunization schedules. So I encourage every citizen, whether you are the parent of a child or even yourself, you need to review with the health department or your personal provider your immunization status. Because immunizations are a lifetime process. So there's an adult immunization schedule in addition to the childhood immunization schedule. So we need to make sure that we are current and follow the recommendations from the state health department as well as CDC.
Go to West Nile real quick. Again, we submit our trial information to CDC. You'll see our vendor report. Again, this is something, we've only had 4 confirmed human cases to date in Dallas County, correct? Dr. Perkins, 2 West Nile fever, 2 neuroinvasive. Again, what a difference a year makes. Again, we're not out of the woods yet, but as you can see, the contractor that we have, BDCI, has done a great job in doing ground spraying. Our map vision has been effective, and as you can see, our resistance testing, our information is coming back. Hopefully, by the end of September, 1st of October, be able to give a comprehensive overview, but we've not seen any resistance data of any significance. We'll go to our next slide. Again, that's just the sample data that we've collected. We'll go to our next one. This is something that Harris County has not been released yet, but I wanted to bring note that, and this is something I've been talking about every Tuesday, where they began to look at the DNA or the genetic structure. So I'll bring Dr. Perkins up. I think that's the cutting edge. We give compliments to everybody who's on the sideline, but this is going to be an excellent study that's going to be released.
This particular study that was coordinated by the Harris County Health Department and the University of Texas Medical Branch, looking at the genetic material from the viruses that were collected in Harris County, and also took some samples from the North Texas area, and they were able to determine that there has been a genetic drifting or a mutation process that has been occurring through this virus lineage that has been on the continent since 1999. And the virus that particularly showed up last year and had devastating results in not only the human population, but in the bird population, because keep in mind this is a bird disease, the vector that spreads it from the birds to the humans, that consists of the mosquito. So in regards to this virus, it has been demonstrated in this particular study that the virus that was in Dallas and Texas throughout this region might have been one that had mutated and that had displaced the virus that was here previously that had come from the northeast part of the country. So this article is very interesting and intriguing article. There are other studies that are out there, and we're going to be reviewing all of them. This helps us to get a better understanding of what we experienced last year.
Once it's released, we'll give a copy to everyone. We just got a preliminary copy from Houston, which is an excellent job on Harris County. West Nile Watch, again, we've had 81 positive traps to date. That should be updated from the 4 human cases. Go to the next one. Dr. Perkins can kind of talk about the difference between 2012, 2013 comparison.
Yes, this time last year, let's go ahead and focus on these. Okay. August 18, 2012, we had 249 positive mosquito traps throughout our county, and we had 241 confirmed human cases. This consists of the neuroinvasive as well as the fever. And at this time last year, week ending August 18, 2012, we were at 11 reported deaths. This year, August 17, 2013, that's going to be week ending this past Saturday. We're at 100 positive traps throughout Dallas County, 4 human cases. 2 of those 4 West Nile fever, the other 2 neuroinvasive disease. And unfortunately, outstandingly, I can't describe, put it in words, but we have not had any fragment of what we experienced last year. And I'm overjoyed at that because there's only 4 human cases. And we're not out of the woods yet, which has been clearly stated. Historically, Dallas County mosquito season tends to run from May through October with peak mosquito activity in August. Now that we've gone to year-round surveillance, we have determined this particular year, 2013, we've been screening virus activity in mosquito traps since January. We were able to detect virus in our county as early as the first and second week in April. And as we continue on throughout the year, even though our season historically has ended in October, again, we have implemented the recommendation of the CDC and the State Department of Health Services to utilize year-round trapping. So even though the season historically has ended in October, we'll still be conducting surveillance throughout our county regarding mosquito activity and viral activity. Next slide, please. This is our West Nile surveillance report, week ending August 17th, which is this past Saturday. In regards to the number of pools and traps that were positive for West Nile virus, we had 26 traps that were located positive, and of that, 32 samples were collected and they were positive from the traps. Keep in mind that due to the abundance issue, for example, if a trap has 110 mosquitoes in there, then that particular trap is separated into 3 pools. It'll be 50 in one pool, 50 in the other pool, and 2 in the third pool, so that we can increase our chances of detecting virus in the mosquito population.
Dr. Perkins, is 150 the bright line? Because I mean, we've had traps with 800, 300 in one city, I know 800 in another. So is 150 the bright line which you begin to segregate into those pools?
Yes, in regards to the abundance issue that we're experiencing this year is multi-fold increase over the previous year.
Right.
So in regards to quantity, we have, let's say 200 mosquitoes, we're gonna cut it off at getting 150 of those mosquitoes and divide them into 3 separate pools right now.
Okay. We got it.
In regards to the traps, they were across our county, and we have seen an increase in preliminary effective index of now to 0.207. That's up from 0.147 week ending August 10th. However, we're still waiting on approximately 20% of the trap, the information from the state. Dallas County Public Health Lab, we process approximately 60% of the traps that are placed in Dallas County per week. As far as presumptive West Nile viremic blood donors, we're currently maintaining 0. As this time last year, we had a significant number of individuals that attempted to donate blood for various medical reasons, and they were detected being positive for the virus. And this time around, as another way of surveilling the human population, we have 0. So, in regards to where we are this year compared to last year, things are much more pleasant, a lot more quieter compared to last year, and we're going to continue to do what we're doing. I like to commend the cities, municipalities, our adjacent counties for doing what they're doing, because we were the epicenter last year, and fortunately the epicenter is somewhere else. Thank you. This basically just summarizes what I've given to you in the chart form, and shows that the abundance of the mosquito was, as I mentioned last week, was in June, and we continue to see a decline in the abundance of the mosquito. Now we're approximately 28 mosquitoes per trap. The vector index, now what I'm doing is looking at the chart to the left, lower corner there, you can see has the abundance decrease. We've had a return of increase in our vector index, which is basically match where we were earlier this year, and the critical value is 0.5, we're at 0.2.
Well, I don't know where, you publish all this, but the public is paying attention. And I do want to thank the department. I heard Dr. Perkins thanking our cities and all, as Ms. Alberta Blair and her staff and I went last week into some of my cities as we presented capital improvement programs. Whether it was Tuesday night talking about Hickory Tree and Bog Spring, or where we were doing a $6 million ramp on Thursday, the number one question was West Nile. They didn't really care. Okay, the road there, they want to talk about West Nile. So while Ms. Robinson was trying to rescue me from having to talk about West Nile, that's what they want to talk about. And so I really appreciate the department for understanding what this issue, how it impacts our citizens.
Well, I want to thank Dr. Perkins. I think a lot of times, again, I see a lot of credit given to a lot of people, but I think it's disingenuous that we've got a doctor who's been focused on West Nile virus, and has clearly driven that whole abundance reduction. And all I can say is everybody can be an expert after the fact. That's great, but in terms of being on the ground and actually managing this process, he's done a great job in that. And the cities have really appreciated in our conference call with them on last Friday and each week, and they really appreciate the mosquito dumps that have been provided, and I hope that we can continue providing those again next year, and they're going to increase.
But more importantly, I also want to thank you, Dr. Perkins, and you, Mr. Thompson, because one thing that this time around has happened is has been more involvement from all municipalities, but also we have listened to all the citizens' requests, and we work with the dumps with all the different municipalities, which is a different way of doing. That was new in what we have been doing in tackling this. Not only that, where you are open and looking into other ways. Hey, we don't know where we're going, but if this is successful, we might look into more larvicide rather than adulticide. So, there are other options, and I think that you have been instrumental in bringing people together and to the forefront. So, to you and the committee, congratulations.
And next month, as part of our weekly, we'll get one more week here in August, but in our September update, before we get ready to kind of close this out, we'll look at a time frame that we don't have to do this week after week. But we're going to start talking about 2014 and our game plan going forward. I want to caution that we're not out of 2013. But again, I read a lot about what everybody talked about last year, and that's fine. I'm clearly focused on the game we're in right now, 2013. And no information was provided during that point that we are able now to make decisions that we didn't Dr. Perkins is working with our staff to make sure we have the information. It's not, it's hindsight and second guessing. It's really on target.
But looking at those charts, I'm looking forward to see what the analysis is on what did go right to make some of those changes. So thank you very much for your dedication.
Well, it starts with the staff, it starts with the Health and Human Services staff that made it, that's going right. They won't give us any credit for that, and I don't even really want it. The point is that when you look at how the media portrays last year and this year, it's disingenuous because when you focus on actual planning and a comprehensive perspective that we have with our cities this year, every time we're meeting with our cities, the 99% of our cities do a quick turnaround of real-time spraying in their cities once they identify positive mosquito trap or human cases. And so we've seen a paradigm shift in our cities. They're clearly focused, they're on target, and we're moving forward. That's why in 2014, there's some other things we want to bring forward that will enhance our program. And that's why I wanted to make sure that our top doc is leading that process because he's doing an excellent job. We hear other names, but this is the name. When he tells us what we need to do, we rock and roll. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Perkins.
Thank you, Director Thompson. Dr. Perkins. Item B, in the Health and Human Services perspective, the Department recommends approval of the memorandum of understanding between Dallas County Health Preparedness Division and Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control. Item 2, juvenile. These are items that were brought back from last week. 2A recommends that Dallas County Commission Court approve the interlocal agreement with Dallas County Schools to provide student transportation. Item B recommends approval of the interlocal agreement with Victoria County for residential treatment services for Dallas County youth at the Victoria Regional Juvenile Justice Center during fiscal year 2014. And item C recommends approval of the interlocal agreement with Parkland Health and Hospital Systems for nursing services at the Dallas County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program. Item 3, IT recommends approval of the social website request as submitted in the agreement for the Department of Planning and Development. Item 4, Public Works. 4A recommends Commissioners Court accept the offer on purchase of tax foreclosed property at 2413 Elizabeth Lane in Seagoville, Texas. Authorize the sale of property by quick claim deed and authorize the tax assessor collector to receive and disperse the proceeds in accordance with property tax code. Item B is the same for property at 3 Old Hickory Trail in DeSoto, Texas. Item C, recommends the City of Grand Prairie act as trustee and be authorized to advertise detached parcels of land in the agreement for sale by public sealed bid. And Dallas County does hereby consent to the sale of said parcels in compliance with the Texas Property Code. Item D, recommends approval of Brookhaven Trail Project MCIP number 17701, authorizing the award of a construction contract to Roche Construction.
And the job in Public Works.
Yes. Item 5, purchasing. Item 5A is the Purchasing Department recommends the Commissioners Court execute participating addendum with Sentinel Offender Services LLC and authorize staff to utilize the electronic monitoring of offenders contract as awarded to Sentinel Offender Services.
No issues with regards to that particular provider.
No, sir. As a matter of fact, we brought in the end users, CSCD, Juvenile Department, and Criminal Justice to make sure that they can see what service. There's a much wider array of services offered under this. We brought them in to see that and to understand how the contract is utilized for what they're doing now or what they may expand to do in the future.
I want to make sure I don't see wrong. Early on, with another provider, we had some issues with their equipment.
No, sir. This does not. If you're referring to the level of technology, this has the higher level of technology that we're able to use so that you can do cell phones as well as landlines.
So, what the court needs to understand that we did have a provider that was utilizing level of technology that was not reporting accurately and upon investigation that we lost the case. And we're just going to make sure that they're the level of technology.
And it's not the same vendor, right?
Well, no, it's not the same vendor, but you didn't ask about the technology on that particular vendor either. And as a result, not until we began to get complaints from constituents that were on the program that they was not, in fact, providing accurate readings, then when we investigated, we found it to be the case. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item 5B, Person Department Election Department recommends a bid for the annual contract of transport, setup, and disassembly of elections equipment, machines, carts, and related items to and from various polling sites be awarded to the lowest and best bidder, Atlantic Relocation Systems. Item C.
I just want to make sure, you know, before we had, is this the same contractor?
So this is the same contractor that we've had previously. This is a new contract. It was time to resolicit.
Okay.
We've resolicited, we've added some of the terms and performance measures that the elections department had asked us to include.
That's where I'm going.
And Ms. Tony Bivens for staff
Yes,
as released as well.
her staff participated in both meetings with the vendors to go over both the apparent low vendor that we're not recommending as well as the recommended vendor.
Okay. Thank you.
Item C, the Person Department recommends the Commissioners Court approve an addendum to bid number 2012-0095787 to add adult measles, mumps, and rubella as item number 8 to be purchased from RegMed Medical and authorize all county documents and payments to reflect accordingly. Ms. Brown has one comment on this item also.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Daryl. With Director Thompson's comments about vaccine earlier, I do want to know this is an adult version. It's not a childhood version. But we did have a real shortage last week, and I did authorize staff to move forward with making the purchase. So I wanted to make you aware. It'll be at the pricing that's mentioned here. And it does not impact our childhood immunizations clinics that are going on in preparation for school, but there was a need to make sure we had adequate supply, and I did authorize moving forward pending the approval of this group. We haven't had it delivered yet, but we did have to start the process, and we do hope to have it delivered today.
Thank you, Shannon. Item 6, budget. 6A, conference travel training request. 6B, judicial salary and office of budget and evaluation recommends Commissioners Court approve the judicial salary increase effective with the start of the state fiscal year, which is September 1, 2013. And budget recommends the ground a couple of other breakups of the miscellaneous.
We get a chance to evaluate the judges based on the judicial management report.
Understand you will be doing that?
Oh, I'll definitely be doing that. We'll be presenting the judicial management report. I think we ought to evaluate it. I don't think we ought to just get a blanket salary.
Put it in the budget.
Well, and let's remind for the record that, you know, the state can go over with some of those salaries. Not all county does. Just for the record, right, Mr. Brown?
Yes, the majority of it.
Correct. The majority set for the two probate and family.
The breakups that I have are two items that are pulled. First one is 1C, which is the materials for the Brett Crowley entrance. We're going to go ahead and do the temporary entrance, but we're going to write a full briefing about the permanent entrance because it needs to include the additional staff that would be required when you do that. So this doesn't slow anything down or stop anything. And then the other one was item 4, was pulled by the county clerk. He wants to expand upon that and do it as a full briefing. I also have a bring up related to travel and training. It's for the Institute of Forensic Sciences for them to send Brittany Welch, Heidi Christensen, Eric Cosley, and Sandra Flores to the Southwest Association of Toxicologists meeting in Las Vegas, Nevada on September 19th and 22nd. With funding from several grants, grant 2462 and 2410. In addition, I have a typewriter for a Justice of the Peace office. Yes, we still use some so we can put that on there for $348 or $68.99 with funding from the Revenue Department. Then the tax office also has a training request for 2 individuals in their office to go to the TAAO conference held in Lost Pines, Texas, August 25th through the 28th, at a total cost of $2,016 to be funded out of the IT fund. That's all I have.
It's done in Clark County State.
That's right. Judge, and Commissioners, there are no other questions on miscellaneous information. You have 6 speakers listed. If you'd like to take them now, Judge.
I can one small comment. Like I said, I've been many times watching the process that this county goes through in the way that we do our business. And I just want to make note that today there were no votes to be taken without the briefing happening the week before. And so I want to commend all of the department heads. I know that I'm kind of not doing every time when anything gets pushed up together, we don't have that opportunity to read thoroughly before we vote. So thank you very much for all your dedicated efforts to get things done.
That's what happens when you take off 3 weeks.
Commissioner, just about to run that record for today, because the item that's on for close, that you're going to hear the majority of the speakers talk about today, we haven't had a public discussion on that. And when we get through it closed, I hope we can come back in here and have that public discussion, and I hope the media and everybody else is still here to hear that public discussion, because it wasn't put on for briefing, it was put on for close. So we need a public discussion on that. That has to take place after we wrap it.
This is our department heads.
Okay. Well, it ought to apply to the court too, if that's true.
Absolutely.
Well, it's appropriate to take legal advice in closed session, but it's also appropriate to explain that and to answer questions. And I agree with Commissioner Cantrell, there'll be an opportunity for everyone to have their voice heard after we receive legal advice in closed session for Texas law. But with that, we are now ready for our registered speakers. But Bailey, please read the rules of the forum for the speakers.
All commissioner court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors or registered speakers may be removed or subject to the penalties provided in the Texas State Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
And our first speaker is Ms. Elizabeth Wally.
I'm Elizabeth Wally. I live at 1112 Seagull Court in Mesquite. When was the last time that most of us talked to someone about why it's important to vote? Our typical voters, even passionate ones, have a sense of why it's important to vote, but we seldom articulate it. And here's what I say. I say it's important that people vote because in this country, people get to have a say in how the government operates. Government does huge things that affect us every day. Look at the things the county does, and we get to have a say. The premise on which this country was founded is that people have a right to have a say in how they are governed. Do you remember that taxation without representation was the reason our country was born? Not having a say was so important to us that we went to war in England. It wasn't the amount of the tax that was important. It was the not having a say. Any other way is not American. It is un-American. Over the years, since our country was founded, the concept of who is entitled to vote has evolved. At first, it was just white men. And then the right was explicitly expanded to include African Americans and women. Barriers that inhibited citizen participation were banned. These expansions took place as we came to understand that all of us are entitled to voting rights because all of us are affected by our government. We're all taxed and served by government, therefore we are entitled to have our say. Now these are very basic things, but they bear thinking about these days when voting rights are again front and foremost in our discussions. What I'd like to ask of you as a citizen and voter in Dallas County is to look for ways to help improve participation in elections. Right now, Texas is the worst are near the bottom among all the states in terms of voter turnout. Improving the situation is going to be challenging. For instance, from having participated in voter registration drives in the Dallas County community colleges, I know that a lot of students who are Dallas County residents and citizens use mass transit, so they don't have driver's licenses. And they use their student IDs, so they don't have state-issued IDs. All of them will be out of compliance with the new photo ID law, even though they're completely eligible to vote. And this is just one example of the many kinds of situations where people in the community are not prepared for voting under the new law. So won't you help as a voter and a citizen? I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's call the board for legal and vote yes. Our next speaker is Mr. Hector M. Flores.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Hector M. Flores, and I reside at 1030 Tracy Avenue in Duncanville, Texas, 75137. I've lived in Dallas County for the last 40 years. I'm here today as a past national president of the League of United Latin American Citizens, known by its acronym LULAC. In the past 35 years or so that I've been a member and officer of LULAC, we've been involved in numerous lawsuits and petitions to the U.S. Department of Justice on behalf of Latinos and other minority groups in Texas and the United States. The Voting Rights Act has moved Texas and the United States progressively forward as the protected classes sought political representation at all levels of elective office. The Supreme Court of our country has taken a different shift as of late due to its composition and the demographic changes of our country. Texas has also taken a different shift due to the political party that dominates Texas politics. Senate Bill 14 of the state of Texas, or the voter ID law being imposed by the state of Texas, is unacceptable and discriminatory, and we should oppose it with all of our resources. Voter ID laws are spreading like wildfire all over the U.S. Voter suppression is not right. LULAC has traditionally supported litigation in this regard. I do wish to caution the court that I hope that our efforts before us with the lawsuit recently filed in June in Corpus Christi is not political opportunism, but an effort to galvanize political support for any congressman or other personalities. I would like to caution this court to do their due diligence before embarking on a lengthy and costly lawsuit until we have the necessary documentation to substantiate the impact of Senate Bill 14, the new voter ID law of our citizens. Much has been said of its impact, but we need to be able to prove it in court. We abhor voter suppression, and we support the right of all citizens to elect political reps of their choice. I suggest that we need a few election cycles to document the impact of this law. The Voting Rights Act has accomplished the American objective. Finally, as one of the most efficient and cost-effective counties of Texas, we need to maintain that status. Thank you very much for listening to me today.
Our next speaker is Mr. David Vieira.
My name is David Vieira, address is 133 North Dallas, Texas. As you know, I'm the president of the National Latino Peace Officers Association, Greater Dallas County chapter. I've spoken with all of you on several occasions. As you may know or may not know, our step increases for the Sheriff's Department and county law enforcement have been frozen for the last 7 years. When the county first froze our steps, we understood. The employees understood that Dallas County was facing some economic hardships, and we understood this. Over the past 7 years, our cost of living has increased, just like everybody else's. Insurance costs have increased exponentially. We have silently struggled with our personal budgets to the point of taking on second and sometimes even third jobs. Now, it is time for Dallas County to make things right, stop the wrong, by honoring our step plan. We're not asking for a pay raise, as others have come and might have asked before us. We're not asking for a pay raise like the judges are getting. We're asking for what was promised us when we were hired. I do not envy your job. I understand you have a huge budget to work with and deal with a lot of different departments. But as our invocation reminds us, every decision you make affects many hearts. Please lighten the burden on the hearts of your law enforcement. When we have met, with the exception of Commissioner Price, you have expressed to us that you would not raise taxes. However, you have since agreed to a half-cent tax increase for Parkland Hospital. A 1/2 cent increase would raise approximately $8.5 million. That's what was reported. A 1/2 cent would be more than sufficient to unfreeze our steps. Once again, this is not a step raise. This is not a raise. This step was part of our salary. Sorry. This was part of our salary structure and should be budgeted for every year. I'm pleading with you to reconsider your position and show your employees that they are indeed worth 1/2 cent. Just 1/2 cent. Thank you.
Detective Garrett, first of all, look at the record straight. We didn't do the operational police department. The voters. And we approved, if you live in Dallas County, and you support the Parkland Hospital, well, they implemented that whole operational piece.
And I agree, sir. They did.
Okay,
They did vote for that. However, the increase was voted on by y'all.
No.
That 1/2 cent increase was not voted on by this court.
Did you hear what I said? The voters gave Parkland that increase, and all we did was validate what the voters did.
Do the voters also authorize these $2 million surveys and all these other expenditures, like you said yourself? Parkland gets to spend millions here, and I believe the words were $1 million here and $1 million there. With those millions, with just a few of those millions, we can reinstitute our step.
Unfortunately, that same 1954 act that I talked about that created the hospital district makes it a separate entity constitutionally from this court. And so as a result, there's a different governance in place, and we get a chance to scrutinize and set the tax rate.
Absolutely.
But I assure you that particular piece that you just saw under the operational impact was because the voters did. They were promised that when they passed that bond election.
And like you said, you have the authority to raise that 1/2 cent.
Well, we have the authority given to us by the voters.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you
Absolutely
what.
By the voters. Thank God for America.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, when the voters, you go around and get an amendment on in Dallas County, well, they tell us to do that, then we'll subscribe to that as well.
Like I said, I agree with everybody voting, and the voters also have a voice.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Erica Cole.
I am Erica Cole at 9246 Forest Hill, and I'm against the new order ID bill. I'm surprised so many people don't understand or misinformed about the details of the county state that they implement to stop voter fraud. It's a sophisticated process. I worked 7 years as an election clerk and now election judge, and in Dallas County, I never once encountered an instance that I felt there was fraud. I've seen many people very passionate and proud to vote, and I wonder if when the time comes, how many people I will have to send away because they didn't understand the new laws or they were too strict to follow. When I think about the new law, I think about Mr. Jackson. He is a tiny, frail man, chatty, elderly, who would walk blocks to East Dallas voting location every single election, standing straight and proud, wearing tattered pants, held up his suspenders and long sleeve button-up shirt with his most important stash of papers in his shirt. And he would, I think that was like his filing cabinet. So he would unbutton a few buttons of his shirt and pull out a bulge of papers, his little wallet and his ID card. And he was so proud to be able to vote. He'd enter the polling location, unbutton a couple buttons, pull out his wallet from his shirt and his voter ID card and hand it to you. When the voter ID passed a couple of years ago, the election department had us hand out papers about the new law. I warned Mr. Jackson when he came back he would have to bring a picture, ID. He told me he had been born at home and at that time nobody had a birth certificate and in his community. How many Mr. Jacksons will we have to turn away? As a deputy voter registrar, I stand in front of Walmart, El Centro, community events, and other locations trying to help properly register voters and educate them. Many do not know the new law, or it's very confusing and complicated for them. I wonder if some of these small communities will even bother trying to share the information with their minority voters. This is not going forward, and this is for Mr. Jackson and all the other people that will not be able to vote.
Thank you. The next speaker is Taylor Holden.
Taylor Holden, my address is 3524 Charlotte Rose Drive, Austin, Texas, 98704. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, and I live in Austin, Texas, it's because I lived and I worked here for a year with the Democratic Party last year, and then I'll be moving back in December to do the same thing. We would take the opportunity to register voters at church services, at nonprofit organizations, basically anywhere we could. And this was last year, whenever we were beginning to feel the implications of what voter ID would mean. Oh, by the way, I'm not for it. I'm not for voter ID, I feel like I should say that. So this is whenever we were first starting to feel the implications of voter ID and what it would mean. Whenever we were there in the churches, when we were there in the supermarkets, everyone asked us, well, they said, I wasn't actually planning on going to go vote because I don't have a driver's license. You know, I don't have a current ID. I don't know. I don't think that I can go vote. It was because we were there and we told them, no, you know, there's actually an injunction against this. Voter ID is not in effect for the year 2012. Please go vote, take an electric bill with you. It was up to us to be able to communicate to these people what their rights were as completely eligible voters. But just talking about voter ID disenfranchised these people because they said, I was not planning on going to go vote because I had no idea what I had to take with me. I can't afford to be able to get photo ID. I didn't know, you know, what that was about. And so that was my first experience with this, but I really hope that this court is going to stand with Congressman Mark Vesey in challenging and bringing a lawsuit against voter ID in the state of Texas. This is an issue that disenfranchises voters. If Attorney General Greg Abbott was concerned with electoral integrity, this would not be the issue. This form of photo identification that is required nationwide, 1 in 10 Americans don't have these photo IDs. In Dallas County alone, it's estimated that 220,000 Dallas County eligible voters do not have the form of identification they would need to go vote. We have an inequitable distribution of ID issuing offices. These IDs are not going to be free. People are going to have to pay for the cost of travel to the ID issuing offices. They're going to have to pay for childcare. Most of them don't actually have a driver's license, so they have to figure out a way to get there. And on top of all that, they have to pay for the documents to be able to acquire these IDs. In essence, these IDs are not free. It is going to restrict the vote for otherwise completely eligible voters. And it is not something that is good for our state. And I thought, you know, we all thought that we'd settled this last year whenever the Department of Justice struck down voter ID on the grounds that it was racially discriminatory and that it would disenfranchise voters. And here we are having this conversation again. So I really hope that we're all going to stand with Congressman Mark Vesey in challenging voter ID in Texas, because otherwise it'll have very far-reaching and negative implications for voters in this state.
Our last speaker today is Mr. George Tex Quesada. Well, our last public speaker, I got a feeling I'm going to hear from some elected officials.
Commissioners and Judge Jenkins, my name is Tex Quesada. I live at 4523 Bluffview. I am here today to urge you all to consider intervening in the litigation that's currently continuing in the Corpus Christi Division. I think that Dallas County has a unique, if not unique, certainly significant interest in this. First of all, let me point out that as one of the largest counties in the state, with one of the
Tex,
yes, sir.
angle that mic and project a little bit more for us, please.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Let me point out that Dallas County has an ample population of folks who will be negatively affected by this new proposal. Dallas County has more than its fair share of African American voters, Hispanic voters, elderly voters, other insular minorities who are going to be negatively and disproportionately affected by the new voter ID requirements. In addition to that, as mentioned earlier, Dallas County, with a relatively large population, has very few centers by which you can go out and get a driver's license, you physically go out and get voter ID, whereas some of our neighboring counties with smaller populations, Ellis County, Benton County, Collin County, have those sorts of facilities. I'm not opposed to having those facilities. My point is that Dallas County will be disproportionately affected in that context. Let me remind you that as the Reverend said this morning, all of these issues have stories behind them. And the story behind this is that we already have finding by the U.S. District Court in D.C. that this very law that is now being reoffered will have a disproportionate effect and will have the effect of disenfranchising the poor, and as the court found, a disproportionate effect on insular minorities. Beyond that, this is part of a larger context in which a three-judge panel in San Antonio, including, as I recall, some former elected officials, found that the state's redistricting plan was the result of intentional discrimination. That's a very, very, very rare finding. I do believe that Dallas County has an interest in intervening and participating in that litigation. This is the first time in my lifetime that the government has gone about to discourage participation. For the longest time, due in no small part to the efforts of many folks in this room, the government encouraged participation by citizens. It encouraged voting. Now, for the first time in history, that I can, at least in my history, the government is discouraging people from being involved. I think that's a terrible idea. I think the court should probably go further than that, and the court may want to consider a resolution encouraging the DOJ to participate in this litigation and encouraging the DOJ to participate in the San Antonio litigation as well. I know you have a lot of questions. I do appreciate your time. Thank you for your time.
Well, I don't think it's the first time, if you maybe in his lifetime, maybe he's a lot younger than I am.
I'm only 29.
No.
That concludes our public speakers. We will now recess for our closed session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in the subsequent open session, and we will begin that closed session.
Judge, can you just please also announce the court order number 11 will be heard and closed under personnel items?
Order number 11 and order number 16 will be heard in closed session, and we will return to do it.
I've asked our gentleman for hearing support, also be back at the closed session so we can make this on closed session.